Thank you very much. I'm not used to speaking in public, so if I stutter or sound unprofessional, I have an excuse. But thank you very much, Don, for that very generous introduction. As I'm David Matthews. I'm an immigrant, and I'm a citizen, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you all. I didn't know I'd know anyone, but then I saw a friend of mine who's down here. He's becoming a Yank. So good to see you, Hermano. Good to see you. I hope you're making good food. That was nice. It was a nice surprise. It was good anyway. The last time I was here was for the same event on the 4th of July in 2000. My dear friend Kanan, a Sri Lankan by birth, was becoming a citizen. It had been a long and somewhat difficult process getting to that point. Today is beautiful, a little bit ominous with some of the sounds, but the sun peeked out. That particular day was about 100 degrees and as humid as possible and a little uncomfortable, especially where you guys are sitting, and that's where I was. On that day, before the ceremony started, Kanan, my friend from Sri Lanka, met a man who was also in his final step of naturalization, and he was from Kenya, and his parents were from India. And that day, this particular man was very impatient and grumpy. I don't think the heat was helpful, but the man was concerned that the ceremony would run long and cause him to miss his flight to Orlando, Florida, where Disney World is, and in his opinion, that was a good place to celebrate becoming an American citizen. So today I will try and be quick, in case any of you have tickets to Disney, and but still fulfill my responsibility to the occasion. There are many different Americas. I know that's not necessarily true, but I'm going to ride that. And Disney World is certainly one of them. The America of Mickey Mouse. There's the America of John Wayne and the Wild West, immortalized in Hollywood movies. And there is the America of my hero, Woody Guthrie, whose song, "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land," has become a cultural anthem. But it was written, thank you. I didn't know Woody would get to the heartfelt round of applause. That's good. That gives me hope. It was written from the perspective of someone who thought that big money and big banks were stealing America from its working population. Another America. There is the America of our forefathers who signed the incredibly important Declaration of Independence with the well-known line in the second paragraph, which I won't say as well as you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And there is the America that enslaved 500,000 men, women, and children at the very time the Declaration of Independence was signed. Many of those who signed that document themselves owned slaves. The great Thomas Jefferson, the brilliant Thomas Jefferson, among them. This population of those enslaved doubled again and again after this country had established its independence. There's the American of Martin Luther King, who faced down racial brutality with the power of compassion, pacifism, and what he knew was absolutely right. This is the America of a complicated history, and it is a nation of immigrants. I'll say that again and again, even if it offends anyone. I don't mean it like that. Some came to find a new start. Some fled tyranny, while others were brought here against their will. It has been a place to which people have traveled in hope of a better life, a place of possibility and a place of the future. This is a nation of immigrants. You are the newest citizens. Our future history belongs to you as much as to anyone. This is the America of jazz and the blues and rock and roll and the civil rights movement and putting a man on the moon and of the atomic bomb. This is the America of the information age. The computer digital revolution started here. This is the America of the Statue of Liberty with the engraved words from the poem The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden shore. I'm not calling you wretched refuse, but it is a beautiful sentiment. The decade or decades it took between getting your green cards or applying for citizenship may not always have been as heartwarming and welcoming as those words on Lady Liberty. And America's doors are not as open to the tired, poor, huddled, hungry, or homeless masses that yearn to be free as that poem suggests. My family moved here in 1969. I was the third of 4 children. My father, John Matthews, was a physicist who had the opportunity to do his research at IBM up in New York. My mother, Valerie, was an architect but stopped practicing to raise her family. My parents were planning to apply for citizenship, but my father became ill in the mid-70s and plans changed. When my dad lost his battle with cancer, my mom went back to work, and with her friends urging, she began the process of applying for citizenship. About 3 years later, in 1979, there was a hurricane named David. While speaking with my mom recently about today's events, she was disappointed to find that Google didn't consider Hurricane David much of a hurricane at all. It was still a hurricane. You see, 3 years into the naturalization process, the good people at immigration informed my mother that they had lost all of her paperwork. I don't know if it would be a big deal now, but in 1979, it was not backed up to a hard drive or on a floppy disk. It was disheartening, to say the least, and what can you do but start again? But in the midst of all this, fortunately, my mother met someone at the UN who knew someone in the INS, and she got an appointment at a very specific time on a specific day to start the ball rolling again. It was also the day that the not-so-significant Hurricane David was planning landfall. So we lived about an hour north of New York City, where she had to be. The highways were flooded and trees were down, some windows broken. Not the worst hurricane, but one nonetheless. My mom made it to her appointment. We are American citizens because of it, because of my super single mother. One more quick story, because it just gives me the giggles. I like the hardships that come with trying to become a citizen. I like bureaucracy. It just makes things funnier after it's done. You know? You know, when you're done, you're like, what? What do you mean you lost? This is a good one. My friend Conan, who I was talking about, who met the grumpy guy who wanted to get to Disney, before the happy 4th of July celebration in 2000, when he became a citizen, he was getting his paperwork application together, and then was informed that his fingerprints had expired. And then he would have to get new ones. I didn't know that fingerprints expired until then, so we live and learn, which is good. It is funny now, but as I'm sure you all know, at the time, it was a little disheartening. It tested his patience. But you have to be well behaved, or at least it seems like a good idea. You don't want to go bananas and start cursing and pulling your hair out in front of the person that's in charge of whether you stay or get out. However we came to be here, this is a nation of immigrants. Even those who build walls higher to keep others out are not many generations removed from a different land elsewhere. Even those who can say, I was born here, my mother was born here, my great-great-great-grandfather was born here. There is still a grandparent or a not-so-distant ancestor to which English was a second language or spoken in a very different accent. That's what I mean when I say this is a nation of immigrants. Many of you probably have kids that sound like Americans. Maybe they are Americans. You know, that's how we go. The only people that can claim to having been here first have had the most difficult time assimilating to or being assimilated by this country. Although Native Americans may thrive in different ways around this country, it is hard to imagine a time when surviving cultures of Native Americans will fully recover from the centuries of brutality laid upon them by generations of invaders. And in that way, they are the only true natives of America. This is what I mean to say. This is a nation of immigrants, a great and wonderful nation of immigrants. You are the newest wave. The stories of how and why you came here are as many and varied as your numbers. Some of you may have come here escaping war and oppression. Some of you come in search of something, maybe a dream. Some of you had an opportunity that turned into a greater change than expected. And although you have probably been here for many years, today is the celebration of your journey and final step into becoming citizens. You are scientists and doctors, architects and farmers, musicians, businesswomen, chefs, businessmen, students, sons and daughters. You are here in this land of immigrants, becoming the next new Americans, as American as anyone. The Pledge of Allegiance, as I'm sure you all know off by heart, has an interesting multi-American past too. It was written in 1892 by a socialist, a minister. Both of those together is nice to say in America. You don't hear it so often, even though I know there are a lot of socialist ministers in America. Named Francis Bellamy. His pledge went, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." Very concise. The words, "the flag of the United States of America," were added in 1923, and I think that was a good idea. It's good to have a flag-specific pledge, or anyone else could have used it, and pretty much it would have been for any flag that you felt like pledging your allegiance to, anywhere you wanted, because it's so great and it sounds so much fun to say. "Under God" was added in 1954. There was then the red thread of communism, and I think President Eisenhower thought it would be a good idea to distance the pledge from the commies. I thought that would get a bigger laugh, but I think that's what happened here. But maybe it's because I'm reading it wrong, but I did think, because that's, he probably was like, what do we, this thing was written by a half commie. We gotta do something about it anyway. Well, anyway, so you chose this country. You left your home, your people, maybe happily, but maybe with a broken heart, and maybe both. You left your language, or if not, you left a culture to come here. And today, this country acknowledges that you are as American now as anyone. And you are more. You left your homeland to make this your home, but you bring with you your culture. You bring the knowledge of another place to infuse and complicate the fabric of America with greater wisdom and diversity. This country is greater because of what you choose to share with us. You are an injection of new life that will keep us viable. The future of this country depends on you and yours as much as anyone. One more thing. We love mottos. We like, on our money we say, "In God we trust." It's got a good swing to it, and it may well be true. On the bumper stickers, a picture of the American flag and the words, "These colors don't run. Have a Coke and a smile. It ain't over till the fat lady sings." But the motto that best describes this country, or what it wants to be, or what it should be, is on the front of the Great Seal of the United States, which is not a fat seafaring animal, but the image of the bald eagle with his wings slightly open, and there's this golden banner in front of him, and it says in Latin, "E pluribus unum," which means out of many, one. So today is our way of saying thank you very much for coming and making us better. We may be many, but now we are one. Thank you very much.